Freedom, man. That's what it's all about. You've got to groove on freedom, like the good book says.
Welcome. You are listening to What on Earth is Happening. This show will discuss the topics of human consciousness, mind control, natural law, the occult, and all issues that affect the freedom of the people of Earth. What on Earth is Happening will endeavor to shine light upon the darkness of our world and to offer empowering solutions to the problems we face as humanity approaches its critical moment of choice. And now, here is your host, Mark Passio.
Welcome one and all. You're watching What on Earth is Happening. I'm your host, Mark Passio. WhatOnEarthIsHappening.com, mind at a time. Thank you for joining us today. This is episode number 263 of What on Earth is Happening. Today is Sunday, January 29th, 2023. We have a great show lined up for you here today. My special guest on the show today is going to be Max Igan of the Crow House. We're going to talk about his involvement at Anarchapulco this year. And we're going to get into a host of topics regarding what is really going on in our world in the modern day. And Max will be joining us shortly. Let me jump over to my laptop and go over some announcements about what is going on in the What on Earth is Happening world. I'm still having some tech issues. I'm having some echo coming in from some place that I can't quite recognize, but I'll try to just deal with that. Not really sure where it's coming from. Again, I just want to let everyone know that because I will have to be involved in moving residents, more likely than not, the live shows will be interrupted, more likely than not, in mid to late March and possibly into early April. So do not expect a 100% complete season of What on Earth is Happening, but we're going to have some great guests and some great topics coming up this season. Let's jump over to the laptop and see if all goes well here. That's not the correct one, but that's full screen. Thank you to Will Keller for the great artwork, as always. Always putting out a great title card each week. Let's bring this into the window. There we go. And again, as I said, Max Igan will be joining us momentarily. We're on a new 2-hour schedule, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern from January through June. And there's a new show layout, as you see. And that's been going a little bit roughly because it looks like I definitely need new equipment. I have asked and received the funds for a new Mac studio for One Great Work Network, and very happy about that. That'll be arriving this week, actually, and I'll be setting that up. And we have a new donation piece of technology to donate toward on What on Earth is Happening donation gifts, which is a new presentation laptop. I'm also going to need a new streaming laptop for this show and for my creative work. Sorry, not laptop, but desktop. So after the funds are raised for my new laptop for the presentations I'm going to be delivering this year, I'll put probably another Mac Studio up there for my own creative desktop. because, again, this computer that I'm actually streaming on is beginning to struggle, and it's about 5 years old now, and I think it's time to just upgrade. So do check out my channel on Band.video. I still only have one video up there. I'm going to probably upload my natural law seminar there over the next few days, and then some other presentations. So look for that coming soon at band.video/channel/Mark-Passio. The How to Become the True Media seminar is really coming at us at a rapid pace because enrollment's going to open April 1st. This is an intensive online technology seminar, 23 weeks in total, hosted by myself on the Telegram platform. We used Telegram last year. It went really great. We're going to be continuing to use the Telegram platform this year. It'll take place every Monday, 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time from July 10th through December 11th for a total of 23 class sessions. There is limited space if you want to partake in the How to Become the True Media seminar this year. Enrollment will open Saturday, April 1st. So be sure to get in there and enroll, and don't wait until the last minute. You can learn more about the How to Become the True Media 2023 seminar at the website howtobecomthetruemedia.com. One Great Work Network has been running strong. OneGreatWorkNetwork.com. Ending slavery, one mind at a time. 72 phenomenal content creators. We're always looking to add more. We'll probably be reaching out to a few more people in the early part of the year. So we'll even be adding some more content creators this year. Check out the great work that they're all doing at OneGreatWorkNetwork.com, and please donate to them. The content creators deserve your support. There's a new category at What on Earth is Happening Donation Gifts, the gifts area of my website. It's called Technology Donations. There it sits in the categories on the right. And if you go to the categories page, I placed it as the first category on the page. If you click into there, you will see there is a tech donation for specific items that are too expensive for a single individual to donate. I wouldn't ask a single individual to donate for something as expensive as a MacBook Pro or a Mac Studio. So that's why we're doing crowdsource funding starting this year for items that are required here in my home studio, home office, to do this type of work. And again, people came to our support by getting the Mac Studio for us, by donating for that, and that has been purchased and will be here this week. The next item is this M2 MacBook Pro, which was just released. And again, I definitely need new equipment this year. My equipment is considered aging by today's standards. And again, even today, as I started the show, there was a minor hiccup, and I thought that the, software had locked up on me. Again, software is so demanding these days that it requires almost the latest and greatest equipment to run it on. This is how developers unfortunately write it. Again, I have to do another whole show, I think, this season on software development and how people don't consider it an important topic in the freedom community. And they're way too easy on developers. They believe that developers are somehow doing a good job, and I could assure you nothing that doesn't resemble the truth in any way. Software development is really, really in a poor situation, especially as far as the consciousness of those who are actually doing the development work, their understanding of what people actually require versus what they think they need, versus what the developer thinks should be built into a product, which is often wildly off than the things that people need and are asking for. And it's laden with bugs continually. Almost even some of the best software is just completely laden with bugs. And this is because of developers really not caring enough to do their job properly and not taking enough pride in their work. Folks, my voice is struggling a little bit today. I'm feeling a tiny bit under the weather, so please bear with me on that. In any event, we have already raised, I believe, $1,200 toward the new MacBook Pro. So thank you for everyone who has donated for this item. You're really making us better equipped to be able to do the work that, I put out here. And it's just, I really thank everybody very deeply for donating like this, because it makes it easier and faster for me to procure the technology needed. And again, that's another thing many people don't understand, is that technology is a gigantic part of this. It's an inseparable part of the great work. Whether you think that that's a good thing or a bad thing, whether you like it or don't like that's the fact. It is the fact. And again, too few people actually understand that, unfortunately. Very unfortunately, too few people understand that. So let's continue on. And thank you to those who have made donations. We're almost halfway to the goal. Hopefully we can reach that goal in the next week or so. I'll be interviewed by Foster Gamble on February 4th, 2023. It's called the Worldview Pioneer Series, Truth and Natural Law, Show the Way Out. An interview that Foster Gamble is going to be bringing me onto his Worldview Pioneer Series show for. So look out for that February 4th at 11 a.m. Pacific. That is, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Eastern on February 4th. Next week on What on Earth is Happening, the great Will Keller of One Great Work Network, involved in one of the organizers of the Freedom Under Natural Law Conference, involved with the Natural Freedom League, all-around content creator extraordinaire, graphic artist for What on Earth is Happening, and truth seeker and truth speaker. So Will Keller next week on What on Earth is Happening. It should be a great interview. Really looking forward to speaking with Will and getting his take on things. So be here next week for my interview with Will Keller. I'll be a featured virtual speaker at Anarchapulco, and that's what I'm going to talk to Max Igan about in just a few moments. Anarchapulco 2023 Resist coming at us very quickly. It's going to start on February 6th and go through February 10th. And my presentation at this year's Anarchapulco, again, I will be there virtually. I submitted a video to them, which they will be playing. I will not be there in person. But my video that will be played as part of the conference on February 6th, the first day of the conference, they have informed me that they will be playing my video, is called Anarchy and the Occult Part 3, The Only Solution to Slavery. Just like the truth, the solution is singular and absolute. And this is one of the things that frightens humanity and gives the greatest case of anxiety to the human species. The truth is singular and absolute, and the solution is singular and absolute. It can be done in many different ways, but it ultimately involves speaking out publicly. And that is what too few people have done, unfortunately, and that's why we're in the mess as a species, as a whole civilization, as humanity that we are in, and why it's not really getting better. So check out the Anarchapulco Conference and all the great speakers that will be featured there, including myself and Max Igan, anarchapulco.com. This is my title card for Anarchapulco this year, Anarchy and the Occult Part 3, The Only Solution to Slavery. Also coming up toward the end of this year, in the fall, Two Masks, Same Face, the dark occult origins of Nazism and communism. And again, I'm going to completely blow the lid off of that. These are not different organizations. They only differ in their political approach and in the mask that they present to the public. But in effect, they are two masks of the same worldwide dark occult religion. And I'm going to be making that case and proving it in this all-day seminar. It's going to be an all-day presentation. We are looking for a venue still. We are talking to now a couple of hotels in the central New Jersey area. The venue is still to be determined because our first venue fell through that we thought we had secured. and things fell through. So we're more likely than not going to actually do this at a decent hotel in the central New Jersey area. So that'll make travel for people very facilitated. And even if they want to stay over, we'll probably even do an after party at the hotel in the conference room. Like just convert that from, classroom style seating to just like an open meeting space where we can all just talk afterward. So the location is still to be determined, and it will take place in the fall, but we're not set on a date yet either. More likely than not in late September or early October. That will be coming up. I will have a definitive announcement about that within the next couple of weeks, certainly before I have to go into a hiatus for my physical move. Don't Tread on Philly meets every second Wednesday in South Philadelphia. This is billed as a social meetup for people concerned about loss of freedom. Gather together for like minds, friendly discussions, networking with other people, and working towards solutions together. It's the second Wednesday of every month from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Dive Bar in South Philadelphia. It's always free to attend. We had a huge crowd show up last second Wednesday. And I mean, it was probably the biggest gathering of Don't Tread on Philly. So thank you to everyone for coming out and making these social events successful, meeting each other, realizing we're not alone in this fight, and getting together to network and come up with some great ideas toward the solution. Check out this group at don'ttreadonphilly.com, and if you're in the Philadelphia area, come on out on the second Wednesday of the month and meet us all and hang out and talk with us. The IPFS project is going. We have 3 potential nodes going up within the next few weeks. I am actively involved with I've gotten the data now to 3 different people. So people are stepping up. I need 5 nodes online by the end of the year, or I have to place What on Earth is Happening in hiatus until these nodes go up, because that's for the protection of my information and data. I want it online in this form. I want it to be immortalized in this form. I want it to be censorship in this form. And unfortunately, people did not step up last year, so I had to make an ultimatum that if I don't get 5 IPFS nodes online by the end of 2023, What on Earth is Happening will be in an extended hiatus until 5 nodes are live online. That's just how it has to be. So we are working toward getting 3 set up right now. So we'll be 3/5 of the way to the goal if those nodes go up successfully. And I'm talking to more people. So thank you for those who have stepped up. And if you're interested in taking part in this project, there are rigid requirements. So be sure to fill out the form, read the PDF. And if you have fully read the preliminary instructions and you want to begin, then you can contact me with the instructions given. You can get those instructions at whatonearthishappening.com/IPFS, the whatonearthishappening.com IPFS project. To call into the show today to speak with our special guest, Max Igan, go to whatonearthishappening.com/call. That will admit you to our Telegram call-in room. From there, you can wait. You can join the call and wait in the queue, and I will call on you. If you're called upon, please be ready to unmute your microphone. The callers must unmute themselves after I unmute them from the server side. So I will allow you to speak, then you must unmute your own microphone because everyone basically comes in muted. Just be ready to do that if you're a caller waiting in the queue. The ARC 2.0 drive still available. People still taking me up on this just about every day. Go to whatonearthishappening.com/ARC for the shipping instructions. The ARC 2.0 drive consists of over 26,000 audio files, 9,500 digital books, and 3,400 digital videos, all from my own personal archive of research and data gathered over the years and given out freely. Again, I do ask for this offer for a donation for my time and effort, but not for the data. I'm basically copying that data for you to do your own research at your own time without even an internet connection required. All the data is local on the drive that you provide. Check out more about the ARC at whatonearthishappening.com/ARC. At gifts.whatonearthishappening.com, you can make a donation to receive gifts of hard copies of my presentations in the form of flash drives and DVDs. You can get promotional t-shirts, stickers, coasters. We just got a new coaster order. The coasters have been out of stock. New coasters just came in with the One Great Work, What on Earth is Happening design. So they're back in stock. They were a pretty popular item. We also have the One Great Work Collection Drive, which is a solid-state drive with all of my work on one drive. That's been one of the most popular items in the store. And we also have the new technology donation section there where you can crowdsource fund technological items that I require to continue both What on Earth is Happening and One Great Work Network. So check out What on Earth is Happening donation gifts at gifts.whatonearthishappening.com. If you want to make a straight donation, which we'll receive 100% of to put into the great work at What on Earth is Happening and One Great Work Network, you can go to whatonearthishappening.com/donate, and there's a plethora of donation methods there, including our Amazon wish list for smaller tech items. I believe there is one tech item on the Amazon list right now. I, again, only use this list sparingly to put items that we very much require in the immediate sense. And, you could check that from time to time. I don't usually put too many items on there at once. Right now, there is one item present. That's all the announcements that I have for today. So let me jump back to my logo screen and let me set up bringing our special guest Max Igan into the show. All right, I'm going to have to use my headphones to speak with Max. All right, Max, you can go ahead and bring your video and audio in, unmute yourself and turn on your camera, and we'll bring you right on.
Right on.
Excellent. All right, give me a moment here.
All good.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen of thecrowhouse.com, Max Igan. Max, welcome to What on Earth is Happening. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Nice to have a chat to you, Mark. It's been a long time, brother.
Absolutely. Too long, Max. I think the last time we did see each other in person was at Anarchapulco. I believe it was 2019. And we had a great time there. We were able to hang out together, talk, socialize with others. Anarchapulco is coming at us very rapidly, going to start on February 6th. I believe you are already in Mexico right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm living about 5 minutes walk from the venue where Anarchapulco is. It's actually been amazing. I've been here for about 15 months now. Not in this one spot the whole time, but I've been here since June. And I actually do my walk and talks, if you've been watching them, in the Anarchapulco venue in the Secret Garden. So it's been amazing. Yeah, and it's good. It's going to be great. There's people showing up here already. It's looking really good.
Excellent, excellent. Now, what's going to be your involvement in Anarchapulco this year? What will you be talking about? Will you be delivering a presentation? Will you be involved in any, speaker roundtable discussions? Tell us about your own personal involvement in the conference this year.
Well, I think I'll probably be in some roundtable discussions. I'm not sure. I haven't got any workshops worked out, but I still could do one. As far as my talk goes, I still don't know what I'm talking about. I never really know with these events. I've figured out, I've done so many presentations now that if I'm doing anything under an hour, I don't generally prepare for it because I figure my walk and talk's usually about an hour and a half. And it depends on what happens between now and then. Things are going so fast in the world that how do you prepare for a talk if it's supposed to be on point and kind of now focused? Right. Well, how do you prepare for it? Because I prepare for it, and it's 10 things have happened in the next week. So it's going to be determined by what happens on the day. But of course, it's going to be focused on freedom. It's going to be focused on how we got here, how we're being scammed. And like you say, freedom is a personal choice. It's a personal decision. Everybody's waiting for some white knight to come along and save them. Well, all they have to do is change their perspective of what reality is and how they interact with the reality and people around them. Remember who and what they are, and ask themselves why on earth they thought they ever had rulers to begin with. World in a day, Mark. That's what's so frustrating about all this.
You're exactly correct.
And seeing it all happen the way it's happened, the way it all has in the last 3 years. I mean, if it's not a kick up the arse for everybody to say, "Hey, wake up and remember yourself," well, I don't know what is, because that's what's happening.
The simplicity of the solution is amazing, and that people don't yet still understand the solution is equally perplexing. I find that it almost doesn't matter how much you actually describe the solution. There will be people who will insist upon saying people don't talk enough about solutions because they want what I find that they want. And let's see if you agree with this, Max. People want literally to be told a very specific task to do. It's like, I find that it's very like learning and teaching computing technology. In my How to Become the True Media seminar, I do not focus on individuated single tasks to perform. Yes, you will have to do that. That will be required, right? But if you do not first understand the conceptual idea, the tasks are meaningless, and they could change on a dime. They could change at will. So the thing is, you have to first understand the conceptual idea of the underlying why. Why are you doing this? How is this advancing the cause of what you say that you want to achieve? And I find it amazing that so many people in the freedom community don't understand that what people like you and I have been discussing since day one is the solution. They just don't hear in their minds, listen, you, Jim, go and do this actual thing, and, go here to this place or say this thing. It's like they're waiting to be commanded, to be instructed like that, when the solution is think differently. Come to the correct understanding mentally, and then speak out about it to others. And the tasks that you choose to do that through are your own business. But get the conceptual idea and then implement it. Your take on that, Max?
Well, yeah, people are programmed into thinking that there's this certain process they've got to go through. Like they've got to fill out a form, or they've got to vote for someone, or they've got to go and follow someone, or they've got to subscribe to something and send them funds, and then they'll get a newsletter to tell them that the world has changed.
Right.
Oh, it's all good now. I don't have to worry about the government parasites ruining the world now. I can go back to my everyday mundane existence that I've done for my whole life. Don't have to change one single thing about myself. But I got a letter from Mark Passio last week that said it's safe to go outside now, so I'm good. That seems to be the approach people have. And they're programmed into blame games and this hero sort of mentality as well. You look at action movies. There's always the lone hero who goes out there and saves the world, and we live vicariously through his journey, and we don't have to do anything to save the world because Spider-Man just did it, and that is a pressure relief valve for us as we go through the movie and all this sort of stuff. And we look at all the problems and the rabbit holes we go down. Okay, it's the Jews, it's the Jesuits, it's the Satanists, it's the Freemasons, it's everybody. And if I point my finger at them and we get angry enough at them and we make them all disappear, the whole world will change without me having to change my perspective or do anything. And the question is, like I said before, what makes you ever think you needed rulers to begin with? It's all of this programming that that's been set in place for your whole life that you just never really understood yourself. The perfect example I've got of this is I've used this story quite often lately, is an old man that I saw on the beach, in Venice Beach, 85 years old, sitting there crying. And I said, what's the problem? Why are you crying? And he said, because I just realized I could have done this 70 years ago, but I did all this other stuff. I thought the system meant something. I thought it was real. I thought I had to have a house, have a white picket fence, have this car, and get to this level on the social ladder and do all these things that the society gives us to do, They give us all these things we've got to measure ourselves by, all these designated enjoyment zones to go to. Of course, if you haven't got your jab and you can't scan your QR code, you can't go to our designated enjoyment zone. So you can't do anything else because you don't know how to be you and just live your life in the forest, all this sort of stuff. But this guy's saying he did all these things, got a corporate business, had all this stuff, had a wife, a beautiful business, all these things. But all he really wanted to do was sit on the beach. And he realized that through all of the stuff that he'd done, he never found himself. He missed out on himself. He missed out on the one thing he came here to do, which was to be who he was. And we don't do that because we're given all this stuff that we're told this is what you need to be. But they're not our ideas. These are other people's concepts of what they think we should be to fit into their system. So their system can just keep going and doing what it's doing, which is getting tighter and tighter and tighter and destroying everything it means to be you and taking everything it means to be you from you. So that soon you're going to need permission to choose what color clothing you wear, for God's sake. It's ridiculous where they're taking it. And the solution is to remember who and what you are. Remember what you came here for. And realize that the people that are ruling you are just people, just like you. You know, you get some guy, but he puts on a fancy suit and he writes all this rubbish on paper. And he said, well, now I've written it on paper. You've got to do it because this other guy, this friend of mine who's got a fancy suit on, he put a rubber stamp on it. So now it means something. Now it's truth. Now it's law. So now you've got to walk between these lines. And if you don't, I'm going to get this other guy to put you in a cage. How did that work out? You know, that's the system that we got. And why would we think that these people are our rulers? They're not. You know, government, if it's anything, it's people we employ to manage infrastructure for us in a responsible manner. So the garbage gets picked up and all this sort of stuff because we've been coerced into living in these ridiculous things called cities, you know, which turns us all into truckitarians. So we're all completely dependent upon the system. No one can fend for themselves. No one's got any life skills. Everyone's living by conveniences. And so they're so scared of change, so scared of actually having to stand up and say, I have value, because then they might not be able to go to the supermarket and they don't know how to grow a seed. They don't know how to do anything. You know, even with the trades, and I could go on for hours and hours, you know, you become a plumber or you become a mechanic or a carpenter or whatever. Why not all of them? Like you go and do a trade, you spend 3 to 4 to 7 years learning how to do one thing that you can learn how to do in 2 months, and then you can go and learn how to do another 100 different things so we can all do everything. You know, that's the way life used to be.
They have us,
and why is it now? I mean,
they have us so separated from the natural world. That's the main thing. We're literally cut off from the natural world, and everybody is living in a realm of constructs, of constructural ideas in the mind and beliefs, rigid, hardened belief systems that do nothing to serve who we are, that do nothing to advance us, to do nothing to help us to learn and grow in consciousness. And in effect, what the whole system has done, it has strangled possibility. The destruction of freedom is equated to the total destruction of what we believe even is possible, let alone what the system allows the possibility of developing and unfolding. When it cuts down that possibility and cuts it off and strangles it, that is literally the definition of the destruction of human freedom. And that's really where we are societally. We're in that state of total destruction of possibility, and that is what ultimately creates slavery. And people still believe to this day that that somehow is moral because they somehow believe that it must be that way or there'd be chaos. It's amazing that this many people are still hardened into this religious belief that authority is legitimate and that it's somehow moral, and it's not exactly what you described. A person issuing commands, another person rubber stamping the commands, another person saying, I'll beat their skull in if they don't obey the command, and they can't see that that's violence.
Yeah. No, that's called government, Mark. They're doing it to help us because they care. They've got to keep the world a safe place. Keep you safe from yourself, brother. See what they're doing, and like strangling what you say, strangling all human potential. You imagine Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo or one of these, Nikola Tesla, anyone being born into one of today's schools and trying to actually express themselves? It's a joke. It's a complete joke. And that's why people can't see the solution, because the solution is them. But the problem is that they've lost so many life skills. Like I said, everybody's truckitarians. They live off the food trucks. They don't know how to think for themselves. They never had parents. I mean, they never left their parents. You know, it's in Western culture, we don't have any coming-of-age sort of ceremonies. That's something I find fantastic about being in Mexico here, is that when the kids turn 15, they have a quinceañera or a quinceañero. If you're a quinceanera, you're a girl, you now become a woman. You've got to start taking responsibility for yourself. Don't go out and start sleeping around because things are going to happen. You've got to start thinking like an adult now. And the same with the boys over quinceanero. Now that you're 15 years old, you've got to start thinking manly thoughts. You've got to start and put all those childish things behind and realize you're getting out into a real world where you can be taken advantage of. So you need to learn how to be a man. We don't have anything like that in the West. So we leave our parents. We go to school. The school teachers become our parents. We leave school. The government becomes our parents. No one can think for themselves, and they're too scared of actually operating on their own. That's the problem that we're facing. Even when we point out the corruption of the system and tell people what the solution is, no, they want someone to point the finger at. They want someone to hate, someone they can go on, because that's what the movies tell them you've got to do. That's what all the adventure novels tell them they've got to do. No, you've got to form the posse, and you go out and you lynch them. And then what do? You got this big power vacuum. Don't you just get on with your life? Oh, we need to tell these politicians and convince them to let us get on with our lives. No, just get on with your life. You just do the right thing in all that you do. It's pretty simple. There's only one law: do no harm. And don't comply with any legislation which causes you to do harm or causes you to step outside your moral compass. It's pretty simple. Like you always say, Mark, don't tolerate wrong behaviour. It's quite simple. What's a human right? It's a human in right behaviour, which is the opposite of a human in wrong behaviour. And when everything this system does coerces you into acting in wrong behaviour so that people suffer, well, I think I see a solution here, Well, it's mind-boggling that the solution is so simple that people can't see the forest for the trees. I mean, I saw this when I was 4 or 5 years old. When I said to my mother, why can't we live in the forest? And she said, because we don't own the land. And I went, what do you mean own the land? How can you own the land? Why is all these people starving around the world when I see food in all the supermarkets every night that nobody's eating? Right. Why aren't these people eating it? Why does everybody have to pay to be alive? What happened? I was asking this of my parents when I was 4 or 5 years old. So I mean, it's fascinating that people can't see the solution, and we've kind of got to this point of dare I say, spiritual bankruptcy of generally the human race. It's got to this point that something like this kind of had to happen.
That is where we're at.
If this doesn't wake up,
that's where we are at.
We're
spiritual.
We're virtually culling ourselves through spiritual bankruptcy.
Yes. People not only cannot see, unfortunately, what the very elegant and simple solution is, but they are constantly attacking people for not somehow putting out the solution that they think should be put out. Like, you're not talking about this, or you're not making this the main focus of your talk. It's like they actually believe that, their little area that they've looked into and that they've become an expert in to get some street cred in whatever social circle they walk in is what's really going to free us. What's really going to free us is to make common sense, objective morality a completely common sense idea in the entire world, where everybody knows it as surely as they know their own name and aligns their behavior to it and doesn't step outside of the boundaries of those moral laws of creation. And it's not that difficult. If immoral behavior is not taken by human beings because no amount of bribe or money can be offered to them to do the immoral behavior. In other words, our measure of success has to be how many people are refusing immoral behavior regardless of the reward that is promised if they do it. So if you ask yourself, look at the world and tell me how many people are saying, even if I'm offered millions and millions and millions of dollars to go into the police force and take away people's rights as soon as someone commands me to do it, even if I'm paid millions and millions and millions of dollars to go into the military and maim or kill people the minute that I'm commanded to do it, whether it's morally correct or not. How many people are saying, no matter the reward, no matter the amount of money offered, no matter the social status offered, I will not behave and allow my body to be used as an instrument to do immoral behaviors, no matter what the reward offered to me is in the physical domain? how many people are stepping outside of those positions? How many people are quitting those positions? That's my measure of success. Max, what would you say? Would you say that that's a fair or accurate measure of success? Or how do you look at how we are actively either becoming successful or slipping further into failure? What is your gauge or your dynamic that you measure in order to attempt to ascertain that?
Well, I mean, like you say, I mean, how many people are prepared to take that challenge? I mean, personally, I won't. I won't step outside my moral compass for anything. That's why I try never to do commerce or anything like that in anything that I do. I mean, I know it's necessary. We live in a commercial world. But I just try to always not have that a focus and just say what I mean and mean what I say. But that's one of the huge problems is that people aren't prepared to do that. They get caught in this system that they think is real, and the system isn't real. Even the whole concept that you need money to pay to be alive, and that having lots of money means something. I mean, sure, it can create some sort of ease in your life, I suppose. But, you know, there's greater things than that.
People always say if someone is faced with the choice of providing food and comfort for their own family.
Excuse me for 1 second, Martin. I'll let you talk for 1 minute. I've got to go and get this door because
no
nobody's
worries.
here, and I'm
absolutely.
I'll be right back.
Understood. No problem, Max. What I want to ask the listening, the viewing audience to consider, and I'll repeat it when Max comes back, is people constantly say, well, you can't ask a human being to say to their own family, we might have to go through extremely hard financial times and possibly not even have food on the table some nights, to cease doing a job and behaviors that they themselves truly know to be morally wrong and that are objectively morally wrong, whether they know that they are or not. Yes, I can ask of that. Yes, you can ask them to do that. Yes, they should do that. What is worse? To allow your own family to suffer, to not do something wrong to another person. So, Max, what I'm generally asking people is, do they think it is worse for, let's say a person is a soldier and doing very harmful things, or let's say they are a cop and they're being asked to do extremely immoral behaviors, okay, and shut down rights of people that they don't have the right to shut down, or to jail them for things that the state says that they did that is a wrong that isn't actually a wrong in matter of fact reality and nature, that was within their rights to do, but they're being punished for doing it because the state said you can't. What is the worst moral choice? What is the worser or the more immoral choice when it comes on the spectrum of morality? Is it to allow your family that is profiting from the evil that you're involved in to not have what it once had and to live a lesser quality of life and continue and not continue the evil, or to make a choice to say, I'm considering my family's base physical comfort needs more important than someone else's rights, than someone else's freedom, than someone else's lives and property, etc. And I'm going to choose to stay engaged in acts of evil and acts of complete immorality and violence and complicity with violence, just not to allow my own to go into some form of physical creature discomfort and suffer lesser quality of life. Which is the more moral choice? Which is the less moral choice? I would say it's always the less moral choice to continue to do harm and to continue to violate other people's rights, rather than to say to one's own family, we cannot profit from this. We cannot prosper from this. We cannot live a life of comfort and assuredness and full bellies and a nice family and nice clothing and a car in the garage, while the thing that enabled that is complicity with an evil system and using my own body, my own physical vehicle for the expression of my consciousness as the vehicle to enact that evil out into the world. I say that that's always the worst immoral choice. And it would be a far more moral choice to put upon your own family, your own wife, your own children, your own husband, your own grandchildren, etc., so forth, hardship and possible suffering, rather than willfully and openly and deliberately conduct evil with your own body. Max, your take on that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the order followers and their. I mean, and the thing is as well with the creature comforts and all the thing that they think they have. This is what they think life is about. They can't understand what it means to be human. They've got this measure of reality, and they don't want to go outside that. If they haven't got gold-plated door handles and silver spoons and all, they don't want all this other stuff that the peasants have, you know. And they literally view people as like a farm, like they're running an ant farm. Now, the mind of a psychopath is very different to the mind of a normal person. But in all these situations, I mean, sure, you've got the guys at the top who are raking in millions of dollars, the generals and the politicians and the leaders who do all these things, put all these orders in place. But it's the order followers in the end that carry out all these deeds. And their families' heads are on the chopping block as well. I mean, unfortunately, many of these guys, they grew up as, bullied kids at school and they haven't had good relationships. And many of them don't have good relationships with their families or good relationships with their wives. A lot of them are single, so they don't really know a lot about family. They don't know a lot about what it means to be loved, to live in a nurturing environment, a lot of these people. And that's why they've gone through the whole hippie revolution in the 60s and got all this free love happening, got all these single mothers happening, so you got all these parentless children running around everywhere they've created this whole thing. It's been years in the making. And these people, and they bring them into the police force and these military organisations, and they give them IQ tests. And if they score over 102, like in Australia, if you score over 102 IQ on the aptitude test in the police force, they won't let you in. You're too intelligent. They want you just smart enough to follow the orders and not really think about what you're doing too much. And if you've got a bit of a chip on your shoulder, well, and you don't mind being a bit of a thug, well, all the better, And what we've seen in the whole COVID this whole scamdemic that they've been running the last 3 years, there's been hundreds, if not thousands, of police have quit the force in Australia because they're disgusted in what the police force has become. And, I mean, this is good in a form of protest in some way, but ultimately these guys, this means all the good, anybody with any sense of morality is actually leaving the police force. It would have been better had these people turned on their commanding officers when the orders were given and said, that's an illegal order, and I'm going to do my duty, and I'm going to arrest you, and I'm going to remove you from a position of power, and I'm going to have this whole thing investigated. That's what we really need them to be doing because, I mean, a lot of these guys who've got any sense of morality at all, I mean, and let's face it, some of these guys, they might not be too smart, but I'm sure there's many cops who joined the force because they saw cop shows on TV and they wanted to be a cop because they figured they're the good guys, and they really wanted to go in and help the world against crime because they don't understand where crime comes from. It's all manufactured. If you want to create a crime, you just create a new law. Every time you create another law, it makes something illegal, you've created a new crime. Oh, my God, look at the crime figures. They're double last year. We need more police. We need more laws. So why are the crime figures double? Because you created double the laws. Now it's illegal to walk in the park on a Sunday. It's illegal to do this. It's illegal to fish down the beach. It's illegal to sit in the park. It's illegal to wear red, whatever. So now there's oh, my God, look at the crime figures. That's how they do it. When Obama brought in Obamacare, he put in 180,000 new laws or something. That's 180,000 new crimes that he created.
Exactly.
That's how you create
when crime. There's only, as
you
said, one law. Don't initiate harm to your other fellow beings. That's it. It's that simple.
That's it. That's it. And how come everything they write down and call law, because the guy in the suit and the rubber stamp and the little process, it goes against that. And yet they dare to call that law? How does that work, So people can't see all this stuff. So, I mean, that's why they do what they do, Mark. And that's what spiritual bankruptcy looks like. When you've got these order followers wearing these uniforms and these sigils all over them, going out there and just brutalising people because their commanding officer told them they should do so, because it's written in the book here that this bottom line's got to be met. It's crazy. When you look at our society, it's absolutely insane. There's no way that any sane mind would have even come up with a society like this. And it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter with what they're doing with the smart grid and what this whole thing's been about, to roll us into this whole track and trace, QR code, digital currency, track everything, know every thought, everything you're doing, harvest all of you, not just your time and your space, but everything, put you in these little 15-minute cities that you're hearing about they want to create. So, it's just destroying human consciousness on all levels. And I see it as an opportunity to wake up. I mean, how hard are they going to push it before people suddenly stand up and say, oh, shit, I've got value. I actually have value. I'm worth something. I can actually do what I want to do. I can create with these hands. I can just go and do what I want to do. I've often said to people, if you throw yourself to the wind, you can ride it. And if you just go out and throw yourself into the world, you'll find incredible things. But we've been taught we can't do that. We've got to stay home. We've got to be dependent upon the city. We've got to do what we're told. And that's why people can't find a way out, because they want the instructions.
Right.
That's why they think we want what's the solution? Why don't you and Mark tell us the solution? What do you mean the solution is me? That's how is that's new age rubbish. That's all airy fairy nebulous nothing. You're not telling me anything. What do I do? Where's the form I need to fill out? What movement can I get involved with that I can donate money to that's going to go and use the system itself to fight against the system?
You know how
No, it's your belief the system is real. That's the matrix. Why don't you just get on with your life?
You know how I word it to people? I ask them, describe at the most base fundamental level that you can, what is the nature of the problem? The nature of the problem is that there are many, 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 many people in our world that are willing to do immoral behaviors, and their behavior is out of alignment with morality. Now, if you accept that as the main premise, then why is that the case? What is the underlying factor that they're willing to do those behaviors? It is because they have fundamentally ingested into themselves, taken into their mind, wrong thoughts. They have believed things that they have thought that have been pushed upon them for their mental consideration, for their thought process, that simply are not true. They are lies, they are deceit, they are not in alignment or congruity with objective morality and even objective reality. Yet they are rigidly believed in a dogmatic way by the majority of human beings. So the problem is immoral behavior. The underlying causal factor for that problem is totally incorrect religious thought. And when I say religious, it doesn't mean Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, etc. It can be those things, but it is not limited to those. One great work network content creators, I think it was Logan Hart, said something to the effect of, the most dangerous religions are the ones that most people never think of as a religion. That's what we're talking about as religion. Wrong moral thought, the belief in authority, the belief in government, the belief that it doesn't matter what the action was, it matters what the intent was instead of the harm that resulted from the action. The idea that if government commands it, that's different than if the average person commands it, etc. The belief that if you're feeding your family and providing for your family, it's okay for you to do immoral things to other people because you can't let them starve or go hungry or be uncomfortable. All of this wrong, immoral justification for absolute immoral behavior and violence. That's the underlying reason. Wrong mental thought. So then extrapolate logically. See, it's like when people say that they can't hear the solution in what we're saying, we've been saying these things, and it's a very simple, elegant, logical extrapolation that their mind is unfortunately simply perhaps not advanced enough. They have not engaged in actual logical thought processes for so long that their mind may have been worked into a synaptic pattern that perhaps they cannot actually reason like this. And that's why they need to hear it over and over and over and over. But the answer then becomes, if you extrapolate logically, that if a lot of minds were hammering on that one mind over the course of their youth until they became an adult with wrong thought, the only way to possibly reverse that condition in that individual's mind is for a whole lot of people to speak the truth out into the world such that they are going to hear that truth. And that's going to bombard the mind and the synaptic pathways and compete with the wrong thoughts until the voice of the truth massively outweighs the voice of the lie, coming at them and entering them and being ingested into their own mind. And that's going to break down the wrong thought and instill the correct thought. How anybody cannot see that, and how anybody can think that it is possibly ever going to work any differently than that, is sad to me. And this is what I feel the great work truly is. It's speaking out to others, not only to give them the understanding of the problem and what the solution is, but to help other people to understand that they need to step into that solution, that the solution is them in the form of putting information out into the world, because not every human being will hear me, not every human being will hear Max Igan, not every human being will accept it from me or will accept it from Max. You yourself have to influence other people. You have to put your voice out into the world, because you will influence others that I may not be able to influence and Max may not be able to influence. You may have a gift in your own way. You may reach certain people that we can't. You may resonate with others that we don't resonate with. Max, your take on all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. People need to be their own solutions, and they need to reach the people around them. You know, like I said before, the problem is people's loss of life skills, like basic life skills. Even more so, as much as we do need the technology, a lot of the skills people have lost with technology, they've lost the skill of communication on a real level with the people around them. They're scared. They're literally scared of what it would mean to just walk out into the world and just live. You know, and go and build a teepee and go fishing. Like I said, that guy just wanted to sit on the beach for most of his life. You know, I've said before, you know, the system's getting so dystopian, and soon you're going to need biometric ID and all of this stuff, even to log online. You know, if do you have the skills that we had 100 years ago, where you can just walk into the forest with a knife and a piece of rope and know that you can make something, you can survive, you can build yourself a fishing rod, you can hunt, you can do what you need to do to get by. We don't have those skills anymore. People, they're truckatarians. They go to the supermarket. They do what they're told. Even when they want a solution, they want someone to tell them how the solution works. Show me your plan. Show me what the world looks like after we implement your plan. And I want to see every single step of it along the way. I want to see all the logistic support, all this sort of stuff. Because they think that way. They think in their left brain. They think the way the system is trained them to think. Like you say, they're all thinking wrong thoughts. They've never been taught about themselves. You know, some of the work that I did a couple of years ago, where I was finding out that there used to be a root language on the earth, which was the basis of Hungarian, Magyar. And it was spoken by the Incas. It was spoken by Polynesians and Melanesians, most of South America. Even the Australian Aboriginals spoke derivations of Magyar. Magyar is a language that has 32 letters in the alphabet. Like in Hungarian, you can express every single nuance of human emotion. In Hungarian, there are 50 different words for snow, because there are 50 different types of snow. With the English-speaking world, what we've got, they've taken our... I mean, we know, I know what I feel inside, and I have so much trouble trying to convey that to the world at large because of my limited understanding, my limited ability to be able to, because I speak English, because the words don't exist in English for me to convey what I want to say. So I have to get out in the world. I have to try to be that person, put myself out there on the public stage the way I've done, say what I can in the way I can, but always inspiring people to ask questions and to look within. Most of the shows that I've done, I don't try to bring you solutions. I don't try to bring you the answer. I try to get you to ask the question, because when you ask the right question, the answer will present itself to you. I know people write to me and say, Max, I think I know the answer to those questions. I already know the answer. I just wanted you to ask the question, because real truth cannot be told. People won't listen to the truth. Real truth must be realized. So you have to encourage people to ask the questions that will help that light bulb go off in their mind. So think about what it would be like if we had our root language that was still here and we could express every single nuance of human emotion. We knew stuff about reality that doesn't exist in our language to be able to convey. When you look at what they've done us, the number they've done on us, Mark, it's incredible. how far they've divided us from what we should be. And that loss of language is a really big part of it, I think. That's why you've got to feel the truth, and you've got to know who and what you are. That's the solution. Everyone wants, like I said, they want instructions, but it's you. If you can find yourself and find your own divinity, see the beauty in yourself, look within you, and even look into the shadow. Because when you look into the shadow, you don't become the shadow. What you do is you find the light in yourself, and you realize that if you cast light on that shadow, the shadow flees. You can't do anything in the face of light. And the reason the shadow exists in the world is because people won't shine the light on it. They're scared of the way it makes them feel emotional.
That's right.
When I look at that bad stuff, it awakens all this terrible stuff within me. Well, all information is just light. People are they have a problem with processing certain forms of light. And so because of the emotional state it makes them feel, the way it makes them feel, they don't realize how easy they can heal that darkness simply by acknowledging the darkness is there. It's a difficult thing. I mean, it's such a difficult thing. So I think in that situation, consciousness being what it is, like I said, we've brought this whole scamdemic and this spiritual bankrupt state that we're in. It's got to come to this head, because there's got to be a way for spirit, the divine, God, whatever you want to call it, to get your consciousness and squeeze it so hard that you're just that light bulb's gonna pop open. It's gonna happen. You're gonna wake up. A lot of people are gonna fall by the wayside, but in that moment of you, in that moment of that spiritual growth of yourself, you're just gonna have this huge experience, and you're gonna see what the answer is, and the answer is you, and it's always been right. You. Simply change your perspective and change the way you interact with the world, and the world changes. We can heal the world in a single day if people just had that epiphany. Which is what I've tried to do. And what I've tried
it doesn't
to
have to be hundreds or thousands of years. I hear people saying, "Oh, it was thousands of years for the human race to be put in this condition. It'll take thousands of years to get out of it." And it's not true. It's something that, this is just a belief that people have. Again, as you said, we can change it very quickly because it's just a shift in thinking. It is an epiphany. It is a paradigm shift, a paradigm change in the way one perceives things. And shadow work is a gigantic part of that. As you said, if people are not willing to look at the dark aspect of themselves, the ignorant aspect of themselves, the lazy aspect of themselves, the cowardly aspect of themselves, right? The thing that doesn't care enough. There's something inside of us all that says, don't bother. It's too hard. You can't. We have this inner voice, this programming, this virus, whatever you want to call it. In ancient and in indigenous languages, they called this Wetiko. Wetiko is the thing that says, you're not good enough. You're beaten. You're not smart enough. You'll never be able to do this. And it can become a true thing. It can become a self-fulfilling prophecy if we listen to that demonic voice. If we listen to that voice that diminishes us. The shadow is the dark, negative, uncaring, unintelligent, ill-informed, ignorant, apathetic, cowardly, lazy side of us. But as you said, if we shine light on that and we ask, what do you think you're getting by continuing these practices? What do you think? How do you think you're advancing yourself or anything? Why would you make the willful choice to stay in that state of darkness and in shadow when, if you receive the truth of the matter, and if you know what's really going on, no one who truly knows that the condition of humanity is actual slavery, and that the people in charge are sick, twisted, satanic psychopaths, and then does nothing to end that condition, does nothing to improve that condition. No one can truly know, truly possess that knowledge and not act. The people who are doing that have this existential doubt in their mind as a result of not engaging with the shadow inside. They're not doing the shadow work to quiet the mind, sit with the self. Quiet the mind, sit with the self, and then pose the question, why have I not gotten upon the battlefield with 100% of my soul? with 100% of my soul? Have I not charged headlong into the battle? What has made me apathetic enough not to do that? What has kept me ignorant enough not to do that? Most of all, why am I still so cowardly and lazy that I have not actually done that? This is the shadow work. The shadow work is to ask oneself those questions. As you said, the questioning process, the asking of questions is what brings all of that out of people and makes them have that aha moment, that spiritual satori, or that instant awakening, that they realize, wow, this is what is required of me, not of another. Not of someone else, not of Mark Passio, not of Max Igan, not of whoever, Alex Jones, David Icke, Michael Tessarion, Jordan Maxwell, etc. We are talking about you. What is going to be required for you yourself to say, I must contribute my own work upon the battlefield of life in the spiritual warfare that we are in, because if your effort is not added to the spiritual warfare effort, it is weaker as a result. That's it. If you're not contributing your energy to the side of good, then you are at least a cowardly observer, sitting back, watching other people wage the war and not engaging in it, which is just about as bad as saying, I don't care whether evil wins, because I can't be bothered to actually truly lift a finger on my own and get involved in this battle. Max, your take on that and people's general apathetic mindset, and most of all, their laziness, their cowardliness, their inaction. What can we do to get them to see that their own action is required and it's not to be left to anyone else? No one else has this in hand. You must act yourself.
Yeah, well, that's what I've been trying to inspire people to do for a long time. You know, people. The problem. People aren't even looking for spiritual enlightenment. They're not looking for any spiritual answer to life or looking to explore themselves through life. They're just trying to get by. They're just trying to put food on the table, keep a roof over their heads. You know, because that's the society that we've created, and the more and more dystopian it becomes, the more they think if they just comply, it'll all go away. And the more they lose time for any spiritual pursuits because they're so busy trying to keep up with the lifestyle that they think they need to have. If people can't just go and put a teepee up on the beach and go fishing and sleep when they're tired and do what they want to do, they can't throw themselves to the wind. They don't know how to. They don't know how to think without the system. They don't know how to think for themselves. And that's the problem. And even a lot of people who listen to people like you and I mean, it's all very interesting for them and they know there's a big conspiracy, but so many people sort of view it as the spy novel version of reality. They just like to hear the next installment of what the bad guys are doing. That's why you got so many disinformation people in the so-called truth movement as well that are always telling you about the latest false flag or the latest this or the latest that and what the white hats are doing and, you know, all this sort of crap that they keep people. There's been people telling me that alien invasion and like they're going to announce the alien interventions here. Like they were telling back in 1970s, we've been waiting for disclosure.
Right.
It's imminent. It's imminent. All this stuff's imminent. The white hats are in there. Trump's going to save the day. All these people are coming to save you. You don't have to do anything. Just keep eating popcorn and listening to the spy novel version of reality, but never applying yourself to it. Never applying yourself to it because you don't have to, because there are people in there looking after it for you. And again, that voice, you couldn't do it anyway. Just let these guys do it. These guys know more than you. That's why you listen to them on the radio, because they're so intelligent. You know, they're gurus and all this sort of crap. That's what I've tried to convey to people. The important part about my message, the most important part about my message is that I'm a social misfit. I'm a guitar player who used to smoke weed for years. I come from Adelaide. I didn't even finish high school. I'm not anybody special. That's the whole point. Right. You don't have to be somebody special to actually have an opinion and have your voice heard. You know, if people would just do that, realize that we're all special.
That's right.
There's people with different attributes and all sorts of stuff, but everybody's got a voice. I've often said every problem that we face in the world, doesn't matter, or any good thing, any good thing that's happened or any bad thing that's happened in this world that was created by humankind, ultimately came from the spark of idea that existed within the mind of a single individual.
Of course.
Had this idea, let's do this shit. And all these other people went along with it, and it turned into something really good or something really bad. But everything that we're facing came from a spark of an idea and a single mind. You can do that. Doesn't matter if you're in a wheelchair. You can be all fucked up.
Right.
You just can't get through life. You haven't got the physical attributes to do this, but you're really cluey. And you got an idea and people like you. And you can just say something and that's going to take off like a wildfire. Everybody can do that. But we're taught, no, not you. You can't do that. You got to think between these lines and go to this school and don't think outside the box and do all this shit. And then go out there and you've got to succeed in life according to our parameters and don't ever find yourself along the way. And unfortunately, a lot of people aren't looking for themselves. They're just looking to survive. They're looking for that peer group pressure and that status. They don't want to be smarter than the people around them. Then they want to go and hang at the club and play pool with the boys. No one wants to hang around with someone smarter than they are who's talking about all this conspiratorial stuff. Let's just talk about doing up the old Ford motor and fixing up the Cadillac and riding our Harleys and going shooting on the weekend, you know?
They're taught to be average. They're taught to be
mediocre. And they're rewarded for being mediocre. Yeah. They're rewarded for being mediocre all the way through high school now. That's why everybody gets a star. There's no one excels. Yep. Everyone graduates at every grade that they go through. Taught mediocrity.
And then if they're taught that...
Mention Tesla or...
Right.
You mentioned Tesla or Michelangelo.
In today's world, imagine. Yeah. These people are taught
they'd be suicidal by the time they're 13.
To be mediocre, and then they start believing it themselves. They start becoming these underachieving people / people who don't believe that they're powerful, when in fact they could be immensely powerful, incredibly powerful. You know, I love your take on people watching the spy movie of reality. You know, they're watching it like as if it's playing out on the screen, and they're not directly, intimately involved. If it's not it's not actually part of what is affecting their lives and the lives of those who will come after them. You know.
They are. It's like they're watching it. Well, tuning into you or me or Jeff Berwick or coming to an Acapulco. It's like they're watching a James Bond movie, and it's the evil villain, and there's the heroes in there. I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, waiting for what happens next instead of making it happen.
If you actually participated. If you actually participated, it would go the way we want it to actually go. That's the point.
You know what I love, Max?
You know? The point is that we're a bunch of nobodies. We're doing this because everybody is somebody. What don't you get about this, everybody?
You know what I love? I love the people who are all about, where's all the new stuff? This is the big thing. You've said this for years. Where's the new material, Mark? Where's all the fresh new stuff that I've never heard before, I've never seen before? There's no such thing. It's the same state of existence.
I want the next chapter of the spy novel, exactly. Mark. What happens in part 2?
Exactly. It's slavery that has been slavery, that is going to continue to be slavery until we do something to change it. That's the beginning of the book. That's the meat of the book. That's the end of the book, and that's the appendix of the book. And if people haven't gotten that yet and you don't understand, there's nothing new coming. We have to, in order to create any new possibilities or circumstances, we have to end the condition called slavery on this planet first. And that's what people don't want to do, and that's why they're constantly asking for what's new that I can learn. You don't need to learn anything new. You need to act. And that's the problem, is people aren't taking any real world action.
The new stuff you're going to have to learn is how to program the QR code on your cashless shopping trolley, because you wouldn't pay attention to the world. Okay, there'd be plenty of new stuff: QR codes, biometric scans,
brain chips, to get
online, no flying, your 15-minute zone that you want to live in, all this sort of shit. That's all the new stuff, because you're not participating in all the stuff we've been trying to tell you for the last 20 years.
Ankle bracelets that'll shock you when you step outside of your 15-mile radius. Let's not leave that out. You know.
Yeah. That's what's coming if people don't stand up and start speaking out about this and making their voice heard and realizing that they have value. I mean, that's all we've ever tried to do, is get people to remember who and what they are. That's been my whole message the whole time. If you go and listen to my shows back from 2008, it's the same message. I've been saying the same thing, packaged a million different ways, hoping to reach a million different minds, even if it's one at a time, because I need you guys to wake up, because I don't particularly want to be a slave anymore. And I can't do it on my own. We can't do it on our own. And that's the problem, is that the sleeping masses, you're just dragging us off the cliff with them.
Unfortunately.
Because everyone thinks the system's
Right.
real. And that's like you're saying, when there's a solution, what's the solution? Where's the march going to be to? What form do I fill out? Who are we voting in? What's the movement, Oh, my Lord, Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. There's the solution right there. Do you know that guy? That's the question I ask people. Who are you? Tell me who you are. Oh, well, I'm a baker. No, that's what you do. Who are you? Well, they can't answer. It freaks them out. They've never really found themselves. They think they are their little part of the system, and somehow by using that, they're going to change things without ever finding themselves. It's like they're living in a mirror world. People are living in a mirror. They're looking in a mirror, and they're operating within the mirror, and they're not noticing the world around them. It's a crazy mentality.
It's a crazy form of ego identification, as I refer to it. And it's all about finding the value when you wake up to who and what you really are and what your true purpose is. It's about finding ourselves. That's the psychology that we have to learn. We have to learn about what we really are at our nature, at our fundamental level of nature and consciousness. And we have to stop identifying with the roles that we are given. We have to stop identifying with the jobs that we do, with the affiliations that we have. Ultimately, it's not being about a member of any group. It's about simply changing your own perspective and aligning it with that which is correct morally, with that which is morally right. And then use your willpower not to allow your behavior to do any of the things that you consciously know are morally wrong. That is the solution. People don't understand that freedom is hinged upon that law. There is a law that governs human freedom. The amount of freedom in any given society is going to be directly proportional to the amount of aggregate moral behavior of all the individuals in that society that comprise that society. That's the law. That is the law of freedom. A law governs freedom like it governs every other dynamic of creation. Nothing is ungoverned by law. As the Hermetics said, what is perceived as random chance is simply a law unrecognized as yet. That's all it is. Everything is governed by law. Yes.
Absolutely. You should be the best person you can possibly be. That's the way to change the world. Something I've been encouraging lately, a question people should ask themselves every day. Are you the type of friend that you would want to have as a friend? Not are you a good person, are you morally upright, or if you were really down and you really, really needed a friend, could you turn to yourself? Could you be that friend to someone? Are you the type of person that you would really value your friendship? And I always try to be that guy. I try to make everybody I come across, I try to make their life a little bit easier because they met me. Because I think that's what rubs off. That's what changes people. Be the best person you can possibly be. And realize there's only one of us here. If you really want to get godly about it, you think of everybody as being a thought in the mind of God. Just one single consciousness fractured so it can experience itself subjectively, like Bill Hicks said. So, when you meet someone, that's why I finish every radio show with In Lakesh. I am another yourself. We are each other. We are reflections of each other. What I do to you, I do to me. So I will treat you the way I would be treated. I'll treat you and I'll be the best person I can to you. I won't let you take advantage of me. I won't let you hurt me. I won't let you do anything like that. But I'll treat you with the respect I would want and I deserve. I will treat everybody that, and I will be the best person I can for you. And if I can make your life a little easier with a random act of kindness, then I'll do that every day to everybody that I meet. So if people can do that and be the best person they possibly can and be the best friend you could possibly be to every friend that you have, the world will reflect that back to you. And we would change the world so quickly, Mark. We really would. I mean, people just don't have any concept of what it really means to be human and morally uprighteous and morally upstanding, They don't understand even the concept of with what we're facing of what I call wholesome righteous anger.
That's right.
In the face of what we're facing. I could stand up against these people, not because I hate them, but because I love me and because I love you and because I love life and I love people around me. And it's the right thing to do to stand up against this. And if you're not angry in the face of this, well, are you made of wood? Because anger doesn't have to be focused on hate. It doesn't have to come from hate. I don't hate these people. I don't hate Klaus Schwab. I don't hate all the people that are doing all this stuff. I feel sorry for them more than anything, because I can't imagine what it would be like to have a mind that psychopathic and that fearful of anyone doing anything that you don't want them to do, that you would need to control everybody and everything the way these people want to do.
Could you imagine being
perverse reasons
in that? Could you imagine being in that babyfied? It's a babyfied state. These are the least evolved among us, and we're letting them rule us out of fear. Imagine.
Exactly. So how can you hate them, though? How can you hate them? You can't. When you hate them, it just empowers them. I feel sorry for them, but I do what I do, and I stand up against them, and I say what I say out of love for life and love for what is right. And I do that. If I wasn't angry, I couldn't do it. I'm ferociously angry at what these people are doing, but it's wholesome, righteous anger, and it doesn't manifest in violence. It manifests in very, very positive dialogue that I put out to the world to try to encourage people to rediscover themselves. But if I wasn't angry, I wouldn't
Let's talk about anger for a minute, because this is very important, and people really don't understand this, and many will not even understand what you're saying about what real, true, righteous anger is. People will say, Mark, how could you get so angry and say such vicious things? It's because I care about injustice taking place. If there is no justice, then I am robbed and stolen from. If justice is being robbed from another, I am being robbed and stolen from. If I am having injustice done to me, other people are having injustice done to them, and they are being robbed and stolen from. Who would just want to be degraded, robbed, and stolen from, and have their rights shut down and not feel angry about it? I feel that I know people in my actual own life that I would not say are quote unquote friends, but are acquaintances and have been acquaintances, that I feel they are actually amputated emotionally from the ability to ever feel the emotion of anger. It has been instilled in them through mind control from the day that they were born, to such an extent that they actually bought into the notion somewhere in their youth when they were young that you are never to experience the emotion of anger for any reason, no matter how righteous it is or how much that anger is directed against injustice in your own life or in the world in general at large. And I feel there are many people in the world today that literally, very literally, in the synaptic pathways of the brain and in the neuropeptides that generate the feelings that we have that we call emotions, literally cannot ever feel anger. There are people in our own communities that are incapable of ever getting angry. I have found this to be true. I want to talk about how society attempts to instill that, and how the rulers of society don't want that righteous anger. Your take on that, of how we are really being bred not to be able to feel that righteous anger that you're talking about. That's what I think is really going on through mind control and social engineering and social conditioning, is they are trying to literally amputate that emotion out of people's psychological makeup.
Oh, absolutely. Breakdown of the family unit has been a big part of it. The mislabeling of the genders. I mean, and the destruction of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, both of them. You know, men have just been completely demasculinized. They're not allowed to get angry, to be fluffy and become more in touch with their feminine side. Women have got to become more in touch with their masculine side. So they're removing the nurturing ability from mothers, so they don't have that fierce, like, you know, mother lion protecting her cub. They don't have that. You know, you'd never mess with a mother or get between a mother and a child. Not so these days. Mothers these days are quite happy to transgender their child when it's too young to even know what its gender is, because they're turning their children into a fashion accessory rather than a family that they're growing. You know, so it's been done very, very deliberately, and the merging of the genders, and people just, we're incapable of anger. And all Prozac and all the stuff that they put is fluoride in the water, and, you know, all these things help. You're getting angry, well, a bit of Prozac and Zoloft and this sort of stuff should fix these issues. So you just function on an even keel. And you think about women and men who take these drugs and then have sex and have children. These drugs would already be into these kids. I mean, what are they doing to these kids' brains by even getting pregnant when they're on these drugs. So, society has been chemically castrated and physically and emotionally and spiritually castrated over a series of generations for the last, probably since the 30s or 40s, So, and it's got to the point that it has now where people are just becoming these gender neutral, whatever they are, perfect for going into this virtual reality where they'll just be living in a mainframe and even working in a virtual world, and they're having everything harvested from them while they're living at home in a pod, in their little 15-minute zone. So, I mean, it's getting crazy. It's really getting crazy. And, people, I think a lot of it is the chemicals and the TV. And, again, with the movies and things people watch and ball games even, these are all pressure relief valves. People get a little bit pissed off about things. They go to the ball game, they watch their team win. It's all good. They feel great at the end of the day. If their team doesn't win, well, they have a right and beat up the guys from the other supporters of the other team. So it gets them off that way. So they're able to, expel all these things. If it wasn't for action movies and sports games, there probably would have been a revolution decades ago. And back in the old Roman days, they say give them gladiators, and you'll keep them happy forever. They just want blood sport and stuff that relieves that build up within them, so they can live vicarious through what they're watching.
Bread and circuses.
And that's what happens.
It turned into, football and beer. It's the same thing in the modern day.
Exactly. Bread and circuses. Yep. Yeah.
Here in Philadelphia,
exactly.
everybody's wired and all amped up about the Eagles game because they are in the NFC playoffs and stuff. Yeah. It's like I can't even believe that grown adults are this worried about a game, like a game that children play, and that people who...
Well, it's all the games, the election games, the TV games, the different TV stations people watch. I like Channel 9, I like Channel 7, I like these news anchors, I like those news, I like this perspective, I like that perspective. It's all mind control, a whole lot. Different, voting for the Reds or the Blues, or different ball games, or different teams, different whatever. The war in Ukraine, who do I barrack for, Russia or Ukraine? Come on, folks, it's theatrics, it's ridiculous.
All orchestrated, controlled opposition. That's the dialectic. That's the dialectic to divide and conquer, to polarize people and get them warring with each other instead of realizing the slavery that they are in.
Works like a charm.
What I still find amazing is that these social engineers have actually convinced people that slavery is a moral condition and is required. And what kind of fearful how much fear do you have to have in your heart and in your mind to believe that it's better to be enslaved and to condone the slavery of others rather than possibly have to deal with perhaps an existence where you might have to defend yourself against other immoral people if they don't want to learn and if they don't want to really bring their behavior into alignment with morality. Yes, go ahead.
They don't see it as slavery. They think you're an extremist. They don't see it as slavery. No, it's not. I'm not a slave. Well, because I've got to pay taxes and work and pay to be alive. No, I'm not a slave. I've got freedom of choice. I can go and buy 25 different flavoured bagels if I want. So I'm not a slave. I can buy a Chevrolet or a Ford, or I can go to the beach on a Sunday if I want. I'm free range.
I tell people just stop paying the extorted property tax that is present everywhere, and find out how long it will take for armed thugs with guns to come and put you out of what you perceive to be your own property and home. And people, you notice no politician will touch the property tax issue, no matter what platform they're running on, no matter what party they're running on, no matter what their political persuasion is. They will never mention this one because that's the thing that fuels all of their other violence. They have to keep the violence going basically with people having to live someplace and therefore paying to live there, paying to keep armed thugs from not showing up with guns and taking what is rightfully theirs. When they're living in it, they're maintaining it, they acquired it rightfully, which is the definition of property. And then,
I'm not, you're breaking up.
Sorry.
There,
Sorry, you're coming in pretty clear, but I'll repeat again. It's like people believe that they own what they claim that they own, and they don't, because it's just allowed for them to keep as long as they pay the extortion fee called a tax. And if they fail to pay that, armed thugs show up and will confiscate their so-called property. And this is the other thing. People don't even understand what property is or means. I went when I don't know if you remember back when the whole Wall Street protests were going on. They had them here in Philadelphia. It was called Occupy Philly. They did Occupy Wall Street. They did Occupy Philly here. I would go to these so-called protests, not to protest, but to talk to the protesters and try to wake them up to the understanding of objective morality and natural law and sovereignty and true human freedom. And I would ask them simple questions like, do you agree with a property tax? Do you think that people should have to pay to own something, to own a house? What if there's a television tax and you have to pay somebody a certain amount of money or they'll come in and take your TV, or a computer tax? Then how is it your property? If I have a shoes tax that I'm going to implement on somebody and say, you're going to pay me this much money per month, or I'm coming and I'm taking all of your shoes, you will not be allowed to own shoes unless you pay me this amount of money, which is arbitrary. I'll decide how much it is. And it doesn't matter whether you say that's prohibitively expensive and you can't afford it. I'm taking your shoes. Well, then they're not your property. That they're my property, and I could take them anytime I want as long as I'm not receiving the extortion fee that I demand. And people would actually say to me at Occupy Philly, these people of a leftist communist/communist persuasion would say, I don't own anything. I don't believe in the concept of property or ownership. Could you imagine this? And I would say, well, what about your body? What if someone wants to put poison into your body? And I had people say, I'm not the owner of my body. And I said, well, then who is? Who the fuck is the owner of your own body? If you don't own your body, who owns it? And they're like, I don't accept the concept of ownership at all, including my body. I'm like, you're mentally ill. I would actually say this to other human beings' face, because this is how deranged the mind control has made another person. I said, you're mentally ill and you are owned, but you are correct. You're not your own owner. Someone else owns you, and you'll never meet them and you'll never know their name. And I had to actually say that to the face of several people at Occupy Wall Street. You're mentally ill and you are owned, but you are certainly owned by other people whose name you will never know. Imagine that that's where a bulk of humanity, a portion of humanity is at. In believing that they don't even own their own body. This is how disconnected from self we have become. And I'm not even talking about disconnection from the higher self. They're not even occupying the body. They're not present. They're elsewhere. They're gone from the house. They're out to lunch, as the saying goes. And, this is what we have to work to get people, in a reasonable, logical mindset to understand. If you don't own property, you are already a slave. Therefore, already right now, the condition is slavery, because there's no true property ownership. You don't own your car that's registered to the state. You don't own your house that's subject to property tax. If something can be taken from you if you don't pay somebody else, that isn't property. That is being held and used, but it is not owned. It is being held in trust for the state, and then the state could come in and take it at any time as soon as you stop complying. Why don't people have a sense of property? I feel like it's bad parenting. Parents never fully put and instilled inside the mind of the child that they are sovereign, that they own themselves, that what they put their effort and work into and the fruit of their labor is theirs, and they get to make the decision as to what they do with it, and nobody else should be able to come in and make that decision for them under the threat of violence and duress. Your take on that, Max?
Yeah, well, people, again, the whole concept of ownership of registration and all of this sort of stuff is the problem. You look at the Native Americans; they never believed anybody could own any part of the earth. They just moved where it was working, and they all did that. It's when you know, because we've been put into these cities and we've been constructed our societies in this way, that this concept of ownership, whereby it's registration, that it's all got to be controlled by government, which means you've got to pay for it. They kind of tricked people into believing that you could own the earth. And so now that people think that it can be owned, they think they own a piece of it, which means the government, they can charge you for that. It's a twisted setup. I mean, I view the earth as a place I'm sharing space with. When you establish where you are, well, if people encroach on that, you've got the right to repel them from that area that you're in. This is the way it's always been through time immemorial. But it's this whole concept that we have of registration and government control of everything, and everything being regulated because of the way ownership is perceived. And when you come down to like owning your body, well, of course you own your body. You get all these spiritual New Age people say, oh, no, I'm just visiting. This is just on loan to me from God. Well, yeah, sure, okay, I can understand that perspective. But since it's on loan to you from God, perhaps you should be the one taking care of it and not letting other people make decisions about what happens to it. You can look at it from
taking
both angles,
full
you know
responsibility for the body and the actions that are done with it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's your temple that was given to you on loan, sure, by God for this experience. But it's your temple. Look after the temple. It's yours. It's not anybody else's.
While I'm inhabiting it, it belongs to me. It is my property while I'm inhabiting it. Yes. So
exactly.
So
yes.
Max.
So there's a whole weirdness with this whole ownership thing, but it's the government concept of ownership, which with registration and all of this sort of stuff.
They believe they own everything. You know.
And we've constructed these societies that are based on the mammon money. Everybody's got to pay to be alive. So everybody's put in an artificial state of scarcity, which means everybody's in competition for everybody else's piece of dirt. The whole thing's been contrived. It was never supposed to be that way. You know?
We've lost the idea of cooperation with each other, and we're put into this idea that everyone must compete with everybody else in this dog-eat-dog situation. And that's really the mindset of what Satanism is, which what I've been trying to explain to people. That's the religion that just about everybody on this planet, with few exceptions, have been inculcated into from the time that they were young. They've been taught a satanic worldview. They've been given a satanic mindset, and that's what makes them easy to rule. They can't be ruled unless they're actually in that satanic mindset.
Yeah, it's psychopathy. The thing is, like with the corporate system, I mean, there's an old movie that came out back in the 90s, I think, called The Corporation. You probably saw it, where they put a corporation on a psychiatric couch and they labelled it a psychopath. When you've got a psychopath who's in control of a company or in control of a government or in control of any organisation, the morality of the psychopath becomes the morality of the organisation he controls. And that organisation will search for that little spark of sociopathy, that little spark of darkness, that little spark of psychopathy that exists in almost everybody, and it will nurture that, and it will elevate that person to a position of power in the system. So you've got people working within psychopathic parameters simply because they're working to pay to be alive. And most people, like, they're working to their means. They think, well, I've got a job here. It's going to cost me $500 a week to live in this place. So I get this job. It's paying me a certain amount. I need a car to go there to the work. So I'm spending all of my money I'm making on the renting the home and on running the car in order to get to the job, to come back to the home that I'm paying to rent that I'm never at. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. So we do it. We're just caught up in this whole thing of scarcity, just so we can maybe skim enough off the top to be able to go and buy food to eat. You know, it's crazy.
Look at the justification.
It's purely psychopathic, the whole thing.
Look at the justifications that people will make to continue to support these psychopathic, vile, evil, and violent institutions. They'll make all these justifications. I have to do it to feed my family. Well, didn't the Nazis say, I need to go to work at the work camps to feed my family? Then they say, we're going to have to do these executions today because that's what pays the bills for me and my family. They were just as immoral. Like, we're just as immoral today, except it hasn't gone as hot, violent, just about, that it was in World War II, pre-World War II, and then after World War II in the Soviet situation of the communists in Russia. Well, look at all of the people who did these vile, evil things and complied with evil in the past, whether we're talking about the Red Chinese, whether we're talking about Mao Zedong, whether we're talking about the German Nazi Reich, whether we're talking about the Bolshevik Revolution or, Stalinist communism, etc. It doesn't matter what evil regime we're talking about. It was filled and comprised of people who all made the same justification. This is what I have to do to feed my own family. This is what I am going to do to receive money so that I can live comfortably and so that the people that I care about in my immediate family can live comfortably. There is no justification or excuse if it doesn't matter what your intent is. This is the thing that I hear over and over and over again. People say to me, well, what about the person who swept up in a work camp? Or what about the person who is the bagman of the mafia? Right? All he does is take a briefcase of money and go to another, headquarters. He takes it from one headquarters to the other to make a payoff. Right? People don't understand. It doesn't matter how low level you are in the organization. You could be a 5-star, general or admiral, all the way down to working clerical. It doesn't make a difference if you're pushing paperwork. You're helping the evil, and your intent is it's virtually meaningless. I'm not going to say intent is absolute meaningless. You can say there's a consideration, well, this is why this individual believes this. But it doesn't excuse the immoral behavior, and it doesn't excuse the complicity in the evil. It's just a justification for it. It's trying to turn it into a right. That's what justification means. It's something that attempts to turn a wrong into a right when that cannot actually be done. It does not matter what level of the hierarchy of power anybody is involved in. If you are working in a clerical capacity, meaning pushing paperwork, you are helping evil. If you're the bagman of a mafia, you're involved in helping the mafia get what they're doing done. If you are a person who is just doing their job in a hospital, and what's being done in the hospital are acts of eugenics, you are complicit. If you were one of the Germans sweeping up in a work camp or in a concentration camp, you are complicit. And this is what people have a hard time with. They want to make excuses for people and let them off easy, when what needs to be said to people is that your intent and why you did it is not what creation is going to examine and look at. All it's going to look at is the behavior. It's not going to care why you did it. It's not. People confuse law in creation with this very human-like, anthropomorphized feeling thing, when what it is it's unwavering law. Gravity doesn't suddenly suspend itself in the universe because a 2-year-old toddler walks over the edge of a high cliff, of a 3,000-foot cliff, and goes splat. It continues to work the way it always works, unwaveringly and perfectly, and it allows the toddler to go splat because it can't put personal care into the situation and suddenly suspend the law just because a bad event is going to happen as a result of the law being in effect. So this is what people have to get out of their mind. Natural law doesn't work like me and you having a conversation and going, well, I normally will not be at this place on Saturday morning, and you're arriving then, and I can't ever make an exception. Well, I can make an exception to what I'm doing. I could cancel my plans. I can go there and let you in on Saturday morning. Human beings can make exceptions with each other for things that they need to do and get done. Natural law doesn't do that. There are no exceptions. It's rigidly, impersonally locked in absolutism. And that's what the ego has the hardest time with. The ego says, no, that can never be. That can't be because I don't want to think of anything as that cold and impersonal. And it wants to insist, no, creation would never put anything like that into effect. No, God is not structured like that, as rigid, cold, and impersonal law that works 100% of the time in an absolutist way, unwaveringly and flawlessly for eternity. But that is what creation's law is. It is not going to look at why you did something. It's not going to take your intent into consideration and say, I felt I had to do this to feed my family. That's what I was told. That's what I believed. All it's going to say is, did you allow your body to be used for the evil, to bring the evil into resultant manifestation in the three-dimensional space-time continuum that we call the manifested universe? Was or was not your body used for that evil and in complicity with that evil? And if the answer is yes, the consequence must come. We can still choose to do that through whatever bullshit reasoning we have in our brain, whatever justification, whatever bullshit lie we want to tell ourselves. But creation is still going to deliver the consequence upon us. We can make that choice. We can break law, but we cannot escape the consequence of breaking it. And this is what the hard-headed and thick-headed among us still do not understand. And I feel that is what is our ultimate great work, is to get that through the thick-skulled among us and get them to realize moral law is an absolute. Moral law is objective. It is not a personal force. It's an impersonal force in place in creation, just like gravity, just like electromagnetism, etc. And if you attempt to violate it, you can choose to do so, but there will be consequence, like the 2-year-old going over the cliff and going splat. You are going to be held to account, whether in the 3D, outside the 3D, in the realm of pure consciousness, in the realm of the body, in some form. Karma will be in effect and have consequence over you. And people, the last thing I'm going to say, and then I'll turn it over to you, and we can go to the phones for the last couple minutes if you want, is the role of intent is not part of karma. People believe that this plays a big role in karma, but all you need to do is go back to the Sanskrit word. Karma literally means action. The word means action in the original language that it comes from. Do you think they would have named it action if behavior wasn't the main consideration and if intent had a vast, large amount to do with it? Intent has the sliver of slivers on the top, less than the skin on pudding, okay? And then there's an ocean below it that is about action. Forget the intent. The intent is not what is creating the consequence. The action is. That's why we have to learn objective morality, align our behavior to it, teach it to others, and help them align their behavior to it as well. Max, your take on, what I just said there about karma and natural law.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Action is the goal. Action is the key. You might intend whatever, but if you put something in motion and it causes harm or damage, well, that's what counts. Doesn't matter what your intention is at all. You might intend for all sorts of funny things. Doesn't matter. It's what you do in your life. It's what you do that counts, which is why we do what we do. It's why I do what I do. I mean, yeah. And if more people looked at it that way, yeah, intention. I mean, it's all very new age. You might have deeper intentions with lots of things, but I don't know. Action is where it counts.
That's what defines us as beings, is the actions that we take in the world. The intent could be all internalized.
It's the lack of action. It's the lack of action that's brought us to this point, and wrong directions. With not. Solution is not believing in ourselves. This whole thing I attribute to a loss of self.
That's right.
And the belief in ourselves and the action that we take. We're scared to take action because we don't believe in ourselves.
We somehow think we're powerless when we can be of such incredible power. It's all in our potential. We just have to unleash it by believing in ourselves. Max, let everybody know where they can find you, and then let's go to the phones for a few minutes for the duration of the show. Where can people find the body of your work?
The same place it's always been, thecrowhouse.com. Old HTML website, folks. Doesn't look good on a cell phone. That's just the way it goes. But I've been kicked off just about everywhere, but you'll still find me on BitChute and Odyssey. I've been meaning to get over onto your network. I've been very slack in that department. I've had so many, traveling and moving to Mexico and computer issues and bandwidth problems and
well, listen, I'll tell you to that in that regard, Max. We have all of your accounts created, and they will be sitting and waiting for you when you are ready. Anytime you are ready, we will have you immediately on One Great Work Network. That is entirely in your court, and I understand, when life situations create the need for you to have to take care of your own stuff first. But whenever you're ready, we'll be there for you.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, it's been chaos the last couple of years. But yeah, everything, you'll find me at thecrowhouse.com. Links to all the places I am from that homepage.
Excellent. Let's see if we can...
Yeah,
you got it. Absolutely. Let's see if we could squeeze in a couple of callers for the duration of the show. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that's all good.
Great. All right, let's hear from Stephen. Stephen, you are live on What on Earth is Happening with our special guest, Max Igan. Go right ahead. Stephen, you have to unmute yourself with the large microphone icon at the bottom of the Telegram call window. Give it another shot. If you're having problems, I'll move on to someone else. All right, let's hear from Laura. Laura, go right ahead. Unmute yourself with the mic icon. It looks like people are having some problems. Let's try D. D, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. Go right ahead. Oh, I apologize. It looks like our listeners are people on the call-in line are not getting the idea that they have to unmute. Let's try David. David, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. Go right ahead.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for taking my call.
There we go. Thank you. You have any questions for our special guest, Max Igan?
No, I don't have any questions, but I did want to make people aware of, I have a podcast out there. There's only 3 episodes so far, but there will be more. It's called Better Late Than Never. And if people want to find it and check it out, they just need to type David Wilcox Better Late Than Never into a search, and it should be the first result that pops up.
Cool. That's what it's all about, is speaking out into the world. Max, how can we encourage other people to speak out and put forward their own work in a formalized way? Because I think when they do that, we reach the maximum amount of people. What do you do to try to encourage and inspire people to do that? I know you do that through your own work, but how can we verbally encourage people that this is what's of utmost importance, is their own putting their voice out into creation and helping other people to become inspired and to take action?
By helping them remember who and what they are, brother, like I've been saying for so long. That's the key. That's just why I always try to tell them that I'm a nobody. I'm a social misfit. You don't have to be somebody special. I've reached millions and millions of people just by putting my voice out there, and you can do the same. Everybody can. Like I said, that spark of an idea from the mind of a single individual, that's where it all began. That could be you. Why are you selling yourself short? Don't you have good ideas sometimes? I mean, what if you just mention one of them to someone? Doesn't matter that you've been taught to feel bad about yourself and not believe in yourself. I mean, haven't you watched any of these? Like, look at Finding Nemo or whatever. Look at any kids movie. They'll tell you about this stuff, this mentality. You just believe in yourself. Put your idea out there and see if it takes root and takes seed, because everybody has value. And that's what I've tried to convince people of, or convey to people right through from the very beginning of my shows. The most important thing, like I said, the most important thing about everything I've done is that I'm a nobody. That's the most important factor.
I consider it the same way. I'm just some guy from South Philadelphia who happened to go down an interesting life path. That's all. Everybody has similar potential. It's just you got to work it. You got to work at it.
Exactly.
Yep.
So don't sell yourself short, folks. Just put your idea out there. You might say that one sentence that everybody needs to hear.
That's right.
So just do it. You got to be prepared to speak for it to come out, though. So believe in yourself.
So thank you to our caller David for starting his own work through that podcast. Good luck with that, David. Let's hear from Stacy. Stacy, you are live on What on Earth is Happening with my special guest today, Max Igan of thecrowhouse.com. Go ahead and unmute yourself. So, folks in the call room, just
Hello?
There you go. Welcome.
Hi. I just want to say I'm a nobody here from Missouri. I would love I would love to get down there and meet you guys one of these days in Acapulco. I do follow you, Max. I follow you and David. You guys are David Ike and Jeff. Love him. Love Lucy. Got Chihuahuas myself. I just want to say thank you. Thank you. Your work is amazing, and you do touch so many people's lives that you're probably not even aware of.
Oh, thank
so
you,
just from my
Stacey.
part to yours, thank you so much.
Thank you. That's really kind of you to come and say that. And it's really, really encouraging to know the work helps people and that you feel empowered from it. And yeah, come down to Acapulco. It's great. It's a really good place to be. I've actually got my own little space here now. I actually fell into my lap. I've taken over a little music lounge. Like it's a little bar and music lounge where you can come and play. You got to get down here, Mark. Got to come and have a jam in the lounge, brother. You're a musician. It's just the way it is. You've got to be here now because I own a music bar.
I'd love to at some point.
Got no excuse.
Yeah.
You've got no excuse for not coming. I've got you trapped. So, yeah. So, you should come down and check it out, everybody. And, yeah, we're going to get through this.
I had a good
ugly.
time.
We're in for a lot of ugliness yet,
Right.
but it's going to get better, I think,
Exactly. I had a good time the couple of years that I did go down there. So maybe at some future point, we'll see what happens. So
yeah, I'll get you down.
Let's hear from Ernest. Ernest, you are live on What on Earth is Happening with my special guest, Max Igan. Go right ahead. So for everybody in the call-in room, just to reiterate, you roll your mouse over the video window in the call, and then you unmute yourself with the large blue microphone. Then we should be able to hear you if your audio is set up correctly. It looks like Ernest is struggling. Let's move on to Rebecca. Rebecca, you are live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome. All right, let's try Ian. Ian, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. Go right ahead. People have to get the hang of Telegram, I think.
Yeah.
You have to unmute yourself. I unmute you from the server end, then you unmute from your end, and then you'll be live. All right, let's move on from Ian. Let's go to Sue. Sue, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. There you go.
Now, can you hear
Yes, you're coming in a little bit hot. Just back off your microphone a tiny bit.
me? Is that
Yes,
better?
better.
I love you. I was leaning right close to the laptop. I'm sending from Wales, the UK, and Max, I watch a lot of your videos, but I don't really comment on them because I'm still trying to get used to BitChute, and there's so many different platforms at the moment. Don't give up what you're doing, and I love the fact you've just got that new restaurant and that place that you're going to be doing a lot of jamming or whatever you call it, when you're creating music with other people. And I'm hoping that soon that you'll settle properly and get some more animals. Can you hear me?
I can. It's a little distorted, but I could get the gist of it. I think it was kind thoughts.
I'm sending love anyway. Don't give up, Max. Love everything you're doing.
Thank you, darling. I will never give up. Don't worry. Don't stress on that. And it's all falling into place. And it's interesting because I never planned it. It just kind of landed in my lap and things are going the way they go. So, like I said, if you throw yourself to the wind, you can ride it. And that's what's happening.
That encourages us as well. You're very motivational. Thank you.
Sue, thank you so much for your
you very
kind
much.
words there. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Max.
You got it.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for this episode of What on Earth is Happening. Thank you to my very special guest, Max Igan of thecrowhouse.com. Check him out, and please say hi to him out in Acapulco at Anarchapulco 2023 Resist. Coming at you February 6th through 10th. Do check it out. We'll see you right here next week, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, government is slavery. Thanks for watching.